Yo, it's Mo, and I'm in here. Thank you for listening to the Mix of Black Girl Magic podcast on Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Thank you guys. Download Anchor. On this episode of the Mix of Black Girl Magic podcast, I am going to be sharing with you in an enthusiastic manner some history that I learned about Black queer women, and I wanted to share this with you all during the month of October, where we are celebrating LGBTQ plus history. This episode was recorded in 2019 originally, and so I want to let you guys know that this has been pre-recorded, but I'm sharing it with you now because it is extremely relevant and super informative, but we'll also have a little fun. Thank you for listening. Yo, it's Mo. Let's get right into it. Today we're talking about things that are extremely relevant to my mix, my particular brand of Black Girl Magic. What I think brought about this podcast is first the idea that these women who identify, like myself, as LGBT, lesbian, gay, whatever, we talked about in the last podcast how they're often looked at as being invalid. So today I want to come through with this history podcast. Let's talk about how we've been doped through history, how we've been invalidated through history, and we'll go in a little deeper on that. So I took it upon myself to go through and find the names of some absolutely dope women from history that were lesbian, LGBT, underrated, underprivileged, not talked about, in the closet, out here in the, everywhere. That's how we're going to do that there. And maybe y'all learn something new. If y'all don't learn nothing new, I just want to further prove my point that we're dope, though, and we've been dope since 1825. So we're going to start off with Frances E.W. Harper. And the site that I was going through, I believe it was All Girls Poetry, all something. I don't know. When I post this on YouTube, I'll make sure to tag the link in the description below to the main source for this information. But I like to leave y'all with sources so y'all can go check out the links that I use. Also, leave y'all with some jewels. This is hopefully adds some value to your life and lets you know, like, if you're LGBT, if you think about it or curious about it or struggling with it, it is something that has been around forever. Yo, it's Mo, so let's get it. Frances Harper, 1825 to 1911, was an abolitionist poet and an author. So Harper published her first book of poetry at age 20 and her first novel at 67. She was a part of the Pennsylvania Abolition Society, helped slaves escape through the Underground Railroad, spoke all over the country about anti-slavery. She helped with the National Association of Colored Women, published a lot of writings, and became known as the mother of African American journalism. She is listed in lesbian lists as an early black lesbian bisexual writer. So early, we talking 1800s. We was already relevant, baby. Ain't new to this, we true to this, you feel me? Thank y'all for tuning in again. We're going to go right into Alice Nelson. So Alice Dunbar Nelson, 1875 to 1935. Again, 1800s, we talking poet, journalist, activist. So I'm not alone, baby. I come from a long line of queens. It's in my blood. It's a little ancestry. Check Ancestry.com. Nelson, who allegedly separated from her first husband, wasn't having it because he was disturbed by her lesbian affairs. And of course, Miss Nelson was an influential writer and journalist, active in efforts to promote African American and women's rights. She was a prominent figure in the Harlem Renaissance. So, honey, doing her thing, 1800s. And we're going further into the 1800s. So, Angelina Grimke, 1880 to 1958, journalist, teacher, poet, playwright. Hey, let's get it, let's go. Harlem Renaissance writer Grimke, who was biracial, was one of the first African American women to have a play performed publicly. The NAACP said the first attempt was done by Shorty. And at 16, Shorty, she wrote a letter to her female friend Mamie, and she said, I know you are too young now to become my wife, but I hope, darling, that in a few years you will come to me and be my love, my wife. That sounds a little lesbian, right? Like a lesbian, that's what we say. Modern literary critics who have analyzed Grimke's work have found strong evidence that she was lesbian or bisexual. We're talking about women doing the first. We're talking about women promoting the African American cause, freeing slaves, writing journals, doing big things. Like, I'm not new to this, I'm true to this. Georgia Douglas Johnson, 1880 to 1966. So we're getting a little bit later into the 1800s. Another prominent figure in the flourishing Harlem Renaissance. Johnson grew up in Atlanta, the daughter of African American and Native American mother, African American and English father. She wrote poems, plays. She was an anti-lynching activist, and she was definitely all up in the Harlem Renaissance. The book Lesbian List, which apparently is a book that we need to go check out. Lesbian List notes that although her letters reveal love relationships with women, she is best known in the heterosexual world for her affair with W.E.B. Du Bois. So, all this switching sides, women being gay one day, being gay for play is what they call it. Women who are still doing dope ass things. And then she snagged a real one, honey. All that beauty that we possess, it's like, girl, you can get them both. You ain't got to choose. Ma Rainey, 1886. I love Ma Rainey, y'all. She's a blues singer. Mother of the blues is what they call her mother. Her 1928 song, Prove It On Me Blues, declared, they said I'd do it. Ain't nobody caught me. Sure got to prove it on me. Went out last night with a crowd of my friends. They must have been women, 'cause I don't like no men. Okay, but I promise it's a real song. I'm not making this up. Ma Rainey, 1886, 1939. One of my favorite blues singers. And then that also just leads me into Gladys Bentley, who was around the same time. So her and Ma Rainey was both bold ass studs about it, big brawny women who wasn't taking no for an answer. Gladys Bentley was well known for the piano playing, raunchy lyrics, and her signature top hat and tuxedo, honey, was class, as we usually are. You find me a lesbian that doesn't have style, and I'll show you a lesbian who is not getting any. Okay, period. Bentley, though, Gladys Bentley, was an out lesbian from the get-go and once dressed in men's clothing, tried to marry a woman in Atlantic City. But during the McCarthy era, Bentley took a turn. She married a man and wrote an article for Ebony magazine entitled I Am Woman Again, about how she was cured of homosexuality by religion and female hormones. Womp, womp, womp. I doubt it. I doubt that was ever true. And they don't talk about what happened. It's a stark difference. So we switch up, we stay the same, but we're all different, and we all have as amounts of black girl magic that's mixed into everything that we are. And I hope this podcast just pushes the fact that, like, we're all dynamic, we're all different, but what is the same within us is our greatness, is our dopeness. Ethel Waters is a lesbian legend. She's a vocalist and actress lived from 1896 to 1977. She was the second African American to be nominated for an Academy Award. That's the Oscars, baby. And the first African American woman to be nominated for an Emmy Award. We talking about the gay girls. Emmys, Okay, Ellen DeGeneres Emmys, and so despite the stigma against Waters even lived with her girlfriend, and so Waters managed to keep out of all the 20th century biographies about her. So she was low key. You feel me? But she did her thing and she lived it in her way. Lorraine Hansberry, we talking about LGBT women, specifically lesbian women who are historical, who have been girl magic for hundreds of years. They didn't tell us about, girl, and I had to go find out who they were. Okay, who are you and what have you done with my history? Lorraine Hansberry, 1930 to 1965, she was like short little life, playwright, but she was the inspiration for Nina Simone's song, To Be Young, Gifted, and Black. Hansberry's Raisin in the Sun made her the first black woman to have their play performed on Broadway. Oh, so that was her play, you feel me? She also worked as an activist, writing for newspapers and later joining the lesbian feminist organizations, the Daughters of Bilitis, publishing 2 letters under her initials. So Lorraine Hansberry, another example of someone being low-key because they were super dope and doing amazing things in American culture and did not want to be validated or did not want to be invalidated constantly. So you can see her using her initials to publish something. And that's something that I can attach to. I use a pen name when I write because it's just that I don't want to be limited when it comes to my writing to being this persona that is Yo It's Mo, or that, I just want to be me, which is nameless and egoless and boundaryless and limitless. And then when it comes to goals and dreams, it's like people want to put you in that box too. And as a lesbian, I just lived for not conforming, not fitting into the box. So did Angela Davis. Angela Davis, activist, author, educator. Angela Davis is one of the most important people of all times. So I'm in good company. Starting with her work in the counterculture activist movement in the 1960s with ties to the Communists and the Black Panther Party, Angela emerged as a leading feminist voice deeply passionate about abolishing the prison industrial conflict. She's run for office, taught and spoken at universities all over the country, published several books, and in 1997 she came out in Out magazine as a lesbian. Y'all know Angela Davis. Y'all know the light-skinned woman with the big afro, a part of the we not playing out here. Out magazine is still around today if y'all want to go check that out. It's a big lesbian publication that also highlights the mix of black girl magic and the dopeness that is within lesbian women that is often overlooked, but when embraced, Angela Davis, Lorraine Hansberry, Ethel Waters, Ma Rainey, Angelina Grimke. When embraced, you get beautifulness, you get strength, you get overcoming, you get activist. Moms Mabley was a comedian. She was born 1894, lived till 1975, and they billed her as the funniest woman in the world. She was not playing. She started on the Chitlin circuit, and because of she made so much fucking money, dollar bills, y'all, she appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show, the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour. She was out as a lesbian from the age of 27 and still did her things, including early lesbian stand-up routines. She wasn't shy about it. She usually dressed androgynous, but then she would change up her persona as she got older. But still, she kept her girlfriends off the stage, honey. Same, got to keep a couple. You feel me, Almeida? I hope y'all feeling this magic I'm exuding through this podcast. I hope y'all hear it through my voice. Ruth Ellis, 1899 to 2000. So we talking about relevance here. More people that you guys might be familiar with. She's an activist. Ruth was considered the world's oldest surviving out lesbian. In 1937, she lived in Detroit with her partner, and Ellis became first woman to own a printing business. Her house eventually became a congregating spot for black, gay, and lesbians, and now the Ruth Ellis Center in Detroit is one of 4 U.S. agencies dedicated to homeless LGBT youth and teenagers. This is the dopeness that I'm talking about, where we help our own, where we use what we have. And people say, Mo, why are you so giving? It's because of the magic within me. Like, I can see that I can help, and I can help because I can see. You feel me? All right. Audre Lorde, writer, activist. She is a Caribbean American writer, civil rights activist. She has a book called Zombie that I'm trying to read right now. She is a prolific poet. And of course, she is relevant up until 1992. Audre Lorde is somebody that if you say her name to someone like Oprah, a politician, like she was influential in writing. Mabel Hampton, another activist or dancer. Mabel was dope. Started out during the Harlem Renaissance. Eventually she quit and she started cleaning houses. So this is what we are. We're hardworking women who gonna make a way anyway, because that's the black girl magic within us. She was in a relationship with Lillian Foster from 1932 until Foster died in 1978. And at the 1984 New York City Gay and Lesbian Pride Parade, Hampton announced, and I quote, "I, Mabel Hampton, have been a lesbian all my life for 82 years, and I'm proud of myself and my people. I would like all my people to be free in this country and all over the world, my gay people and my black people." And she passed away the year I was born. Mabel Hampton, I might just be trying to pick up where you left off, because she's an activist, a dancer, a philanthropist. I would like to be looked at as an activist, a writer, a musician, and a philanthropist. Those are the same titles. Like, I'm in good company here. You feel me? Thank you guys for tuning in. Again, we're partway through here on the Mix of Black Girl History Podcast. We just going through the LGBT, but we talking about the lesbians, specifically lesbian women that were dope back in the day, and they ain't tell us about it. And so for me, it was important for me to go and find out my own history. Like, I ain't the first gay person, and I'm not the first dope gay girl I've ever met. Plus, where are all the other dope gay girls? So the next person we're going to get into, the next female, the next dope black girl, Denitra Vance, 1954 to 1994. These women have short lives. You know, they say the good die young. She's an actress, comedian, and the first black woman to join the cast of Saturday Night Live. She did her thing. In 1985, she was the first cast member with a learning disability, the first lesbian cast member, and the show's only black lesbian cast member ever. Vance eventually, tired of the stereotypical role she was given to play, and left the show in 1986. She went on to a formidable career in theater and film, and won an Obie Award and an NAACP Image Award for some of her works. She died at the age of 40 from breast cancer. Her obituary read that she had been living with her companion, Mary Jones Miller, at the point that she was on Saturday Night Live and opened doors for, like, the black woman that you see on Saturday Live right now. I can't remember her name, but you can't miss it because she's 6 feet tall with, like, spiky hair sometimes. If you can tell me her name, put it in the comments below this. I would definitely appreciate it. Denise Simmons, politician and activist. In 2008, Denise Simmons became the first openly lesbian African-American mayor in the United States. We've been taking over, you know, and Massachusetts is dope because Massachusetts is the state that really was the first lift the gay marriage ban. And regardless, in that situation, it's like, you can't really put the two together. You know, it's the separation of church and state, I think, and who the mix of black girl magic. Like, people are trying to tell us how we should be in our personal life and try to limit us to what we should do in our careers, and try to put us in these boxes of how we should do it. And the who, what, when, where, why, how isn't determined by someone else. It's about women being able to define their own journey and determine their own outcomes of their life, and having full control over their bodies, and having full control over their ideas. And once we do advance, you know, don't invalidate us, acknowledge us. You're in that situation and that woman is there with you. Imagine and put yourself in her shoes of what she may have had to overcome to even be where she is. And so the invalidation must stop. That's another podcast episode. It's actually the second podcast if you guys want to go check that out. But we talked about Ma Rainey. I sang her little song. Zora Neale Hurston, Bessie Smith. We talked about Mabel Hampton. If y'all don't know, Josephine Baker had a girlfriend. Gladys Bentley, Lorraine Hansberry. We've got Audre Lorde, Barbara Jordan, June Jordan, just to name a few. And I'm going to close this out by highlighting the dopest, all-time dopest. Y'all, when I seen this headline, I was like, what up? Nefessa Williams is her name. She's an actress who appeared in the TV show Black Lightning, which you can go watch on Netflix right now. Black Lightning. I don't know if y'all haven't seen it, if you guys have seen it or not. Is one of the dopest. And she's the first black lesbian superhero. And it took me a while. When I read that, I was like, who is that? I better know who that is. I should have known. And then it dawned on me, like, girl, you watched the whole show from episode 1 to the very last episode of the season. So Nafessa Williams breaking barriers as TV's first black lesbian superhero. And she says, I'm very grateful that I was given the opportunity to give voice to this character and show young black lesbian women that it's okay to be themselves. And that's what I'm doing. You know, it's okay to be who you are, regardless of if you're a lesbian or not. I want that message to extend. And if you love people and love is your thing, do that. Everybody ain't like you. If you don't like people and you're just walking around grumpy, then I suggest you go find a friend that is loving and caring. Best advice. Sometimes I give horrible advice, but I would take that advice. They are basically putting the spotlight on her because of this. I mean, she grew up watching the Cosby Show and wanted to be just like Claire Huxtable. Seeing a successful black female lawyer on television was inspiring. Perhaps that's what got her into the role. And she became Thunder on the CW television network superhero series Black Lightning, which is available right now on Netflix. You guys can go watch it, binge watch it. I definitely recommend it because I did. Real shit. So she says, you know, as a black woman, I know what barriers we are still breaking down so that we can see ourselves. And this just happens to apply to minorities. It just happens to apply to people who feel like outsiders, like they don't fit in with the status quo or the societal norm. You know, you do want to see something that looks like you. So you too feel like you're eligible for being successful or you're eligible for success. Thunder, her character has superhuman strength, which is how I feel about the black girls. I mean, I'm not discrediting my straight girls, but I definitely feel like black girls for some reason are just super strong. And to deal with the oppression from society while still being able to accomplish, express your talents, your God-given abilities to entertain and all that. That's a lot. So think about doing that, and then think about doing that with 6 other blocks on top of your head, you know. And that's basically what we're doing. We're trying to balance all these plates while still maintaining the same issues and mood swings and hormones that every other woman has. So it's definitely an interesting source of life, but myself, you know, I know that people don't often understand my shoes to be able to put themselves into my shoes. And that's kind of one of the reasons I started this podcast. So back to Williams, again, she saw Shorty being a lawyer on TV and she's like, yo, I could do something. And Williams was really attracted to the character's by any means necessary approach to accomplishing her goals. She has superhuman strength. She can create powerful shock waves against her enemies, and she can heal people. And so that just made so much sense to me, and it definitely attached to my idea of the lesbian woman. Like, I feel like these women are super strong. We have the ability to heal others and each other and ourselves through some of the crazy, like, hate crimes or hate speech or is, you know, bashing or disturbing towards who we are as people. And I think, you know, in a setting of religion, everybody should be allowed, regardless of who they're having sex with at their house or who they love in their personal relationship. As long as you have a personal relationship with God, I feel like you're doing enough. So she did all this. Little young girl from Philly. She just started going to auditions and acting in acting gigs in New York City. She did get a role. And then she now got another role. They about to put her back on Saturday Night Live. Like, so she's dope, but her character, like, I want her face on my next birthday cake. Thank y'all to everybody who listened to this podcast. I hope you guys learned something new, maybe about yourselves or about some of these women that you knew nothing about. The website that I used as the reference was autostraddle.com. Again, I'm going to link that in the bottom description box, and you guys feel free to comment if you have anything that you would like to add or suggest, anything that we might could talk about next. If you learned something too, share that with me, because this is what I talk about this for. Like, I want people to learn and at least understand the perspective and just go deeper into the discussion behind it, because it's not something where, you know, I see myself reflected in other podcasts. There are already a lot of podcasts that talk about how to make money, how to invest, how to deal with failing relationships, this, that, the third. But it's come to my attention that I really can't find lesbian women discussing topics that could literally help other African American women, and that's something that I want to do. So I appreciate y'all's support. Outside of that, y'all know Mo lit, Mo be turned, you feel me? But I love to learn, so we got to mix all this together, and that's what you get in the pot. That's black girl magic, and it won't stop. Either way, though, this is the end of the podcast. Make sure y'all follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Go to my website. Make sure y'all keep me posted with what y'all got going on. If there's anything I could do to support y'all, I'm definitely here for it. Yo, with Smoke, you already know.